of New York, having an address of 27 Silver Circle, Queensbury, New York, in conjunction with Brookfield Power U.S. Holding America Company, a business corporation organized pursuant to the laws of the state of Delaware, having an address of 200 Liberty Street, Suite 1400, New York City, New York, have requested that the agency provide financial assistance in the form of a partial real property tax abatement and a sales tax abatement regarding a project to consist of the acquisition by the agency of a leasehold interest in certain real property located at 407 Big Bay Road in the town of Queensbury, County of Warren, New York, and being known as tax map parcel 309.17-1-16. The planning, design, construction, operation, and maintenance by the company with approximately 16,000 plus or minus square foot facility to be used by the company for office space, control room, and dispatch operations for hydroelectric facilities of Brookfield Power U.S. Holding America Company, the acquisition of an installation in and around the land and improvements by the company of machinery, equipment, fixtures, and other items of tangible personal property, and entering into a straight lease transaction pursuant to which the agency will retain a leasehold interest in the facility for a period of time and sublease such interest in the facility back to the company, all pursuant to Title I of Article 18-A of the General Municipal Law of the State of New York, Chapter 862 of the laws of 1971 in the State of New York as amended. The agency may be providing financial assistance with respect to the project in the form of sales tax exemptions related to the construction and equipping of the project facility and a payment in lieu of taxes, which are consistent with the policies of the agency. Should other financial assistance be requested, it shall be consistent with the policies of the agency. A representative of the agency will be in attendance at the above stated time and place to hear and accept written comments from all persons with views in favor of or opposed to the granting of financial assistance contemplated by the agency or the location or the nature of the facility. The application of the company is available for public inspection during normal business hours at the offices of the agency located at 5 Warren Street, Glens Falls, New York, 12801. Minutes of the hearing will be made available to all necessary parties.
Thank you, Alie.
Just one question. Counsel for Brookfield is trying to get into the call, so I don't know if there's a waiting room or I can send them the.
Yeah, I sent them the link.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
You sent them the link.
I got.
Good afternoon. This is Tony.
Is it Paul W?
No, it should be Kevin McAuliffe.
Correct.
Yeah.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Tony Zarella. I had problems getting on the Zoom meeting, so I dialed in.
Okay. Paul.
Apologize.
Yeah, it's okay. So Patrick joined, Paul W's joined. And what was the attorney's name?
Kevin McAuliffe.
I do not see Kevin. Okay, Tony, you're on by phone, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, do you want to give us a quick overview while we wait for the attorney? We're going to text
Sure.
him, Kara?
Yeah, I just texted it to him. I don't.
I thought I heard him on.
I think between me and Tony, we can answer most of the questions.
Okay, fine. So it's up to you, Tony.
Yeah, I think it's fine. You want me to give an overview or
Yeah, just
are there
quick
questions?
overview. Just a quick
Sure.
overview. Questions.
Sure. Yeah, we were the operations, the National System Control Center, which currently resides in Marlborough, Massachusetts, employs just under 50 people, or right around 50 people. It fluctuates obviously with changes, but the idea would be to set up a National System Control Center and a backup control center in Queensbury, New York. Move all 50 positions, roughly 50 positions, to the Queensbury, New York area. And that consists of about 35 operations folks, management associated with the operations folks, SCADA and network IT professionals, along with management for those folks, and our national NERC compliance folks. The building would be 16,000 square feet for the main office and control center. So it'd be the office area and the control center itself, that it will be operated 24/7. And then the backup control center, I believe it's quite small. I think it's maybe 1,200 or so square feet, which will be an emergency backup in case something happens at the primary center.
Now, Tony, I think I remember one question is that you had, I believe, said that not all the people from Massachusetts were coming here, that would be new hires here?
Yeah, that's correct. I believe as of today, there are 13 individuals that currently work in Massachusetts moving. All the rest are actually, most have already been hired. I think we still have 5 or 6 individuals to hire, but most have already been hired from the Queensbury area and are currently in training, because the training program takes several months, obviously.
Okay. So with that, I would open up questions or comments from anyone?
Dave, I had one question. So the financing hasn't been arranged yet, and I was asked whether once the financing gets arranged, whether we could do the abatement of the mortgage tax also.
It's our understanding, I'll let Tony and John Lapper answer that question, but my understanding, it wasn't going to be any financing.
I think that's been re-examined.
Okay.
So on behalf of Joe Gross, who is the property owner and the landlord, he's building this. There are contributions from the tenant, but he's building this primarily out of pocket and not financing it with a mortgage.
I know that originally, but he reached out to me and said, if I decide to finance it at a later date, is that a problem, Dave?
So
to get the abatement of the mortgage tax.
Kara?
If I guess it depends on how that financing is structured, but he could come back and ask for a request for financing at that time if he doesn't know the particulars of it now.
No, he does not.
And Kara?
Yeah.
It's Michael Biddle. We would need another public hearing then, right?
I would recommend that there's the dollar amount threshold for a public hearing, but we in the past have done subsequent public hearings, so I would recommend that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Greg Leggett, yes.
Thank you. Usually the mortgage tax abatement has to be done before there's a closing. How would that work on something like this?
So technically, from a structural standpoint, it doesn't necessarily have to be in that process. So if we proceed and we close, we enter into the lease transaction with them. We're on record with them having a lease agreement. So what would happen is if they were to come for financing, they would say this financing is related to this project, I would like a mortgage tax exemption for this financing. And then at that time, we would execute the bank mortgage assignment of rents and leases and a mortgage tax affidavit. If you chose at that time, say they were just using this property as collateral for some other project, and you determined that that was not something you wanted to authorize financial assistance for, then you could say that at that time too, that you're not willing to extend that. But if it was related to the project, that would certainly be something that's within your authority to grant.
Thank you, Kara.
It's sort of like as if someone came to us with a refinance or something like that, the documents, the structural piece is all in place. We would just need to execute the financing documents.
Right, because we've seen this in cases where we've done additions to existing facilities, correct?
Right.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? Any other questions or comments?
May I ask a question?
Yes?
I just want to get all my ducks in a row. Is Joe Gross selling the property to?
No,
no.
Joe is owning and leasing it.
He's leasing it to the IDA?
To Brookfield.
To Brookfield, and then Brookfield is entering into a lease agreement with the IDA?
No, technically, Joe Gross will enter into the lease agreement with the IDA. And then ultimately, the Brookfield will enter into a lease with the IDA.
Brookfield isn't renting the entire property or leasing it from Joe Gross's entity, which is I forget
Silver
the number,
Circle.
407 Big Bay Road.
407.
So the Brookfield isn't leasing from them 100% of the property. So the project is with 407 Big Bay.
That's correct.
Yep.
I have a question. I'm still not necessarily clear on who the principals are of Brookfield Renewable Energy. I apologize if I missed that.
Tony?
This is Evan McAuliffe. I'm an attorney with Barclay Damon. I'm out of the Syracuse office. I could jump in and answer that. I mean, there are no individual principals of Brookfield Renewable Energy. It's one of the many companies owned by Brookfield, which is a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange. So this is not a situation where we have individuals identified. It's a publicly traded, wholly owned by a publicly traded company.
But the property is owned and will be leased by Joe Gross and his entity, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
you. Okay. Any further questions? Are there any further questions or comments? Are there any further questions or comments? Having asked 3 times and not received any more comments, I will close this public hearing, and we need to leave this one and get into the next one for Fort William Henry. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you.